I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest, not with me, with yourself. How many times have you gone to bed with a plan that felt real? Not just a fantasy, a real plan. You knew the steps, you felt the excitement, you thought, tomorrow I actually start. And then tomorrow came, and you didn't. Not because something got in the way, not because life was too busy, you just didn't. And the worst part isn't that you didn't start. The worst part is that deep down, you already knew you wouldn't. If that feels uncomfortably familiar, stay with me. Because what's happening inside your mind is not laziness, it's not weakness. It's something far more specific than that. And once you understand it, you'll never see yourself the same way again. The reward you never earned. Let me tell you what's actually happening in your brain at 2 a.m. When you imagine building something, a business, a career, a body you're proud of, your brain doesn't just picture it, it feels it. There's a chemical called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is about pleasure. It's not exactly. Dopamine is about anticipation. It's the feeling of reaching for something, the feeling that something good is coming. And here's where it gets interesting. Your brain releases dopamine when you plan a goal almost as intensely as when you achieve one. So at 2 a.m., lying there, mapping out your future, you're not just dreaming, you're getting a neurological reward, a real one. The problem? Your brain got the reward without anything actually happening. It's like going to a restaurant, spending an hour reading the menu, imagining every dish in detail, and then leaving full. You didn't eat anything, but part of your brain thinks you did. So the next morning when the alarm goes off, that urgency you felt the night before, gone. Because somewhere underneath your consciousness, your brain already filed this one under handled. The fear nobody admits. Now, I want to go deeper than dopamine, because dopamine explains why the excitement fades. It doesn't explain why you never start in the first place. For that, we need to talk about something most people aren't willing to look at directly. I've spoken with a lot of people over the years, people who by every external measure should be doing the thing they keep saying they want to do. Smart people, capable people, people with enough time, enough resources. And when I really sit with them and ask, what are you actually afraid of? They almost always say the same thing. I'm afraid it won't work out. But that's not the real answer. That's the surface answer. The real answer, the one that takes longer to admit, is this. They're afraid of finding out that they tried their best, and it still wasn't enough. See, right now, in the planning phase, you are the version of yourself with unlimited potential. You haven't been tested yet, which means you haven't failed yet, which means the dream is still completely intact. The moment you actually try, reality enters the picture. And reality is honest in ways our imagination never is. So without realizing it, you make a quiet deal with yourself. I'll keep the dream safe by never putting it at risk. Thinking becomes the place you live, because in your thoughts, nothing can go wrong. Nobody can judge you. Nobody can reject you. And most importantly, you never have to find out that the gap between who you imagined you were and who you actually are might be wider than you hoped. That's not laziness. That's self-protection. And it's costing you everything. And so the loop begins. You get an idea, and it's a good idea. You feel alive for the first time in weeks. You start planning. You open a new note. You tell yourself, this time is different. But then quietly, the planning turns into something else. You start thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if it doesn't work? What if people laugh? What if you pour everything into this, and it proves something about you that you weren't ready to know? So you go looking for more information, one more YouTube video, one more podcast, one more article that might give you the certainty you're hoping will eventually make you feel ready. It never does. Weeks pass, the excitement slowly dies, and then a new idea arrives, fresh, exciting, full of possibility, and the whole thing starts again. I call this the preparation loop. And the cruelest thing about it is this. It feels productive. It feels like you're moving. It looks like effort to you and everyone around you, but nothing is actually changing. The preparation loop isn't a path toward action. It's a detour away from it, dressed up in the clothes of progress.
The difference between dreamers and doers. So, what's different about the people who actually do things? I want you to stop for a second before I answer that, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking they're more disciplined, more motivated, more gifted. They're not. I promise you they're not. The research is very clear on this. The people who execute consistently are not people who feel less fear. They're not people who have more energy or more confidence. The one thing that separates them is much quieter than that. They've stopped waiting to feel ready. That's it. Somewhere along the way, they understood something fundamental. Readiness is not a feeling that arrives before action. Readiness is a feeling that action creates. You don't wake up one day feeling ready to run a business. You send one email, and that makes you feel slightly more like someone who could. You send another, and the person you're becoming gets a little clearer. Doers aren't building cathedrals in their minds. They're laying one brick, one imperfect, small, slightly embarrassing brick, and then another. The overthinker is waiting for the blueprint to be perfect. The person who executes already knows. The blueprint only reveals itself as you build. Confidence isn't the starting point. It's what you earn along the way. So I want to talk practically now, not in the language of hacks and systems, but in the language of what I've seen actually work for people stuck exactly where you are. The first thing is this: shrink the action until it stops feeling dangerous. Your nervous system is not irrational. It genuinely experiences big goals as threats. It sees "start a business," and it reads risk, judgment, possible failure, public humiliation. So stop asking it to do that. Don't start a business today. Write one email. Don't write a book today. Write 2 paragraphs. Don't get healthy. Put on your shoes, step outside. That's the whole task. When the action is small enough, your threat response doesn't activate and you slip through the gap before your brain can stop you. The second thing, tell someone what you're doing today, not someday. Not, I'm working on a business idea. Tell them, today I'm going to write the first paragraph of that thing I've been putting off. Social accountability isn't about pressure. It's about making the action real before you take it. Once you've said it out loud to another person, your brain registers it as something that exists, and it becomes much harder to let it quietly disappear. And the third thing, and this is the one I most want you to hear, the part of you that overthinks is not the enemy. It's a part of you that learned at some point that thinking was safer than acting, that staying in your head meant staying protected. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to shame it. You just need to gently, patiently show it evidence that action is survivable. One small moment at a time, one small action at a time, until the story your brain tells about who you are starts to quietly shift. Before you close this video, I don't want you to write a list. I don't want you to make a plan. I just want you to ask yourself one question and sit with the answer honestly. What is the one thing I keep almost doing? The thing I come back to again and again in my head that I already know I need to start. Not the biggest thing, not the perfect thing, just the one thing that keeps whispering. You don't have to figure out the whole path today. You just have to take one small step, small enough that the scared part of you doesn't notice you've already begun. That's it. That's the whole secret. If some part of you recognized yourself in this, that's not a coincidence. That's the part of you that's ready.
If you got value from this video, I'd love your support with a like and subscribe. And if it wasn't for you, please let me know in the comments what I can improve. Your feedback helps me create better content for you.